So, welcome to session 2 of Togetherness. And today I want to address what I call the glue that holds marriages together, and that is communication. So, my wife and I come from two very different family experiences. My wife's family talked about everything. It was a large family. They were a loud family. They were all in each other's business. If there was a decision to be made, they would bring it up at family dinner and everybody would have an opinion and talk about it. They were in each other's business. And it was so opposite of my experience growing up. And when I grew up, it was just 4 of us. It was me and my sister and obviously my parents. And we just were very quiet and we didn't talk about much, didn't talk about deep things or serious things. It was pretty surfacey, very quiet. And I myself am more of an internal processor, an internal person. So our family experiences were very different. And that carries over into our marriage. Autumn loves to talk. She even talks to herself at times when she's trying to solve problems. She is an auditory person, so she needs to hear things. And so she wants to talk about it, not only once, not only twice, but 3 times. She loves to communicate. Let's just put it that way. And I love that about her because it's the total opposite of me. I love to internalize. I like to get in my head. I like to think things through and not, talk about things so much. And so she has drawn that out of me. Happy to say I've improved some in that area. But it was a struggle, especially the first 10 years of our marriage. And so I want to talk to you about talking together and see if we can help you guys communicate at a deeper level. Words have power. We all know this. Words have power. Power to build up and tear down. Powers to encourage or discourage. To create negative environments and positive environments. Words are powerful. Proverbs 18:21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death." The way I like to say it is words are the finished product of the assembly line of your thoughts. So Jesus said this in Matthew 12, verse 34, "For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks." So when it comes to our words, we're talking about the way we're thinking about our spouse as well as what our heart condition is towards our spouse. So let me ask you the question, what is your heart condition? Is it hard, as we talked about last session? Or is it soft, full of love and mercy? Is it full of good? Or is it full of evil? Your words can build a strong foundation for your marriage. Or your words can also be a WMD, a weapon of mass destruction, and blow up your marriage. So let's take a look at how to talk together in a marriage building context. So let's talk about getting connected in conversation. I recently bought a lamp for my office desk at home, and I was, excited about it. New lamp, fresh lighting, pulled it out of the package, put it on the desk, plugged it in, turned it on, nothing happened. Talk about a disappointment. So I did what most people do. I unplugged it and put it in the plug right below it, plugged it in, and voila, the light came on. So that top input, there was just no electricity flowing. There was no connection. And so my lamp wouldn't turn on. But when I finally plugged it into where there was a connection, there was electricity, the lamp came on. And conversation is just like that. We need to make connections in conversation where there's electricity flowing, there's energy flowing between a husband and a wife and her husband. And they're having this interactive conversation. So let me give you 5 ways to make a connection when you talk together. Number 1, connection and conversation is made when we honor our spouse. That word honor in the Greek is timeo, which means to place value on. It's used 16 times in the New Testament, all in connection to human relationships. The key here is that you determine the value. That's the mystery, is that you determine the value. You place the value on. So when you're having a conversation, to place value on that conversation, what you're saying and what you're letting your spouse know is this is valuable to me. This is something I want to talk about. This is a problem that I want to solve. This is an issue that I want to be in unity with you. And so as we honor one another, we're placing value on that conversation. You get to choose, and that's on you. If it's not valuable and you're just going to blow it off, or you don't want to talk about it, or you're half listening, or you're just kind of mumbling responses, you're not honoring that conversation. Your spouse is going to feel that and they're going to shut down. So honor your conversation. Here's some ways to honor your conversations. Honor your time. What that means is you're placing high value on the time that you spend talking together. So honoring the time is seen when you schedule enough time to have a full conversation, right? And so one of the keys is don't try to have a meaningful conversation when your spouse is just headed out the door to work, or they're just coming home from an exhausting day at work and you just want to dive in and have this intense conversation. You need to honor your time and pick a time when you're both relaxed, you're in a good atmosphere, you're in a great location that's just going to promote conversation and interaction. So make sure that you're honoring your time. And then honor your words. Place high value on the words that you choose and your word choices. Purpose in your heart not to use destructive, hurtful words, but words that build and words that encourage, words that are going to get you to the goal that you're desiring. And then honor your emotions. Place high value on your emotional responses. If you tend to be that naturally explosive, reactionary person, place value on not doing that. Place a value on staying calm, having peace in your spirit, and giving proper, responses back to your spouse that aren't going to be explosive and blow the whole conversation up. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. Don't have an emotional meltdown. Just remain calm, sober-minded, mature, cool, collected. And then honor in conversation is valuing the process of communication between two people who love each other and are looking for connection. So value the process as well. Value that interaction. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But value listening, value speaking words that are going to build, value having communication that is going to be life-giving and not suck the life out of your relationship. Number 2, connection is made when we listen to each other. When we listen to each other. Listening is an acquired skill, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but let me give you just some reminders on what it means to be a good listener. It's a learned art, I found out. It's not just natural. So listening skills include eye contact, leaning in to show that you're interested. It's giving verbal cues, just once in a while throwing in a I get it. Wow, I'm sorry that happened. Tell me about that again. Just verbal cues to let them know that you're engaged. And then ask clarifying questions. Clarifying questions is like, so what I hear you say is, or tell me again exactly what happened. I really want to make sure I get this right. How did that make you feel? Or what is it that you would like me to do? Don't just try to jump in and fix it, but ask their permission and let them give you a description of how you can help them to get through this situation that they're talking to you about. Thirdly, connection and conversation is made when we know we're on the same team. When we know we're on the same team. I want you to know this. Your spouse is not your enemy. If you're having a dialogue, there's a conflict that you're trying to deal with. Your spouse is not the enemy. The enemy is this third party that's trying to get between you and your spouse. It could be a financial situation, could be relational, or a disagreement on something to do with the kids. There's a lot of enemies that can creep into our conversations. So it's always good to keep in mind, you know what? She's not my enemy. This third thing that's bringing this conflict into our relationship, that's the enemy. And so I need to make sure that instead of face-to-face or we're going at it, we slide alongside shoulder to shoulder, and together we're on the same team. How can we strategize to take care of this and defeat this third party that's bringing division into our relationship? Using the famous sports analogies, a divided locker room only happens when the team is losing. But when everybody's winning, everybody's happy and on the same team. And so I want to make sure that you don't have a divided locker room in your marriage. Make sure that you consciously determine what it is that is causing the conflict and then make the effort to let your spouse know, you know what? I'm not against you. I'm for us together working to defeat this enemy that's in our marriage and making sure that we are on the same team. Number 4, connection and conversation is made in a distraction-free environment. Dr. Gary Chapman has this quote about healthy communication. It's quote where 2 individuals are sharing their experiences, thoughts, and feelings and desires in a friendly, uninterrupted context, unquote. Uninterrupted is key. A recommendation would be date night. Just schedule a time to go out for dinner, take a nice walk, and talk about what it is that you need to talk about. Or it could be late night after the kids are in bed and you've had a chance to kind of sit down, relax, get refreshed, and then you dive into a conversation without the distractions of children. Or it could be coffee in the morning. That's the time that Autumn and I connect best. We're both morning people. We get up early. We spend time with the Lord, and we come together. We have our breakfast together, share a coffee, and we talk about what's happening during the day. And then another good idea is shared activity. Shared activity. For some of us, it's hard to just stay focused in a conversation for a long time. But if we're doing something together, like taking a walk, taking a hike, we're riding bikes, we're going to the beach, we're able to relax, we're able to just share our heart more, and to just have this shared activity promotes better conversation. And so if one of those 4 ideas helps you, just adopt one. Make that your go-to. If we need to have a conversation, this is what we're going to do. And then the 5th connection and conversation is made when we focus on common needs. Common needs. So a common need that we both share is kindness. I mean, if we're honest, no one likes a mean person. In the world of psychology, kindness is defined as a behavioral response of compassion and actions that are selfless, or a mindset that places compassion for others before our own interests. In performing the selfless act, a person may undercut their own selfish interests. In other words, the power of kindness is the focus less on ourselves and the focus is on someone else, not our personal interests. Psychologists also found that when people are kind, their personal happiness increases and there's an increase in connectedness in relationship by showing kindness one to another. So how can we show kindness to one another? Well, here's some tools. A smile, using kind words, showing empathy, sympathy, using a gentle voice of understanding, humility, where it's more about them than yourself. If you'll show kindness one to another, you're going to make a very deep connection as you're talking. The second common need is the need for care. Everybody needs care. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is found in 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. And Peter writes this. He says, "Humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you." And as I was studying this out one afternoon, I just came upon the revelation that that word cares, we're to cast our care upon him because he cares for us, is actually 2 different words with 2 different meanings. The Greek word for care, in other words, cast your care upon him, it means to divide the mind. A divided mind causes anxiety and confusion and fear. And we're to give those to God. We're to cast all our anxieties, all the division in our mind, all the confusion, all the anxiousness in our mind. And we cast that onto God. We bring it to the foot of the cross and we cast it at the foot of the cross. Or we bring it to the throne of God and we just say, "God, I can't handle it anymore. I'm casting this on you." And here's what happens. God cares for us when we do this. And that word cares in the Greek means to make an appropriate response. So think about this in context of your Heavenly Father. We cast our care on him and he gives us the appropriate response. So here's how it works. We cast and he cares. And you know what? That same principle works in your marriage. When we're able to cast our care upon our spouse, the thing that we're concerned about, the thing that we're scared about, the thing that is causing us to lose sleep at night and we're anxious, worried, that we're angry about, frustrated with, we cast that care on them. And if they give us that proper response and they care for us and they respond in love, they respond in understanding. They might not have all the answers. They might not have the solution and here's 10 things we're going to do to fix it. But just that kind response of saying, you know what, I care. I care about this. And I'm going to respond in faith. I'm going to respond in love. I'm going to respond in total acceptance of what you're sharing with me. I'm telling you that breathes life into your marriage. So when you cast and they care, it's very, very powerful. And then the last common need I want to address is the need for validation. We all need validation. Validation is supporting what is being said and the person saying it. It's not necessarily agreeing 100%, but it is supporting. It's supporting them as a person, supporting them as your spouse, and giving them the right to feel the way they feel, whether you agree or not. Disagreement is common in marriage. It's healthy. It's actually valuable at times. It's good to wrestle over things as you're making a big decision, to look at the pros and the cons and to work through it all to finally come to a conclusion in unity that you both feel good about. The key is during that process is validating the opinion shared and validating the person sharing it. Validation says, I might not agree with you on this subject, but I support you as an individual to think this way. I'm going to work with you. We're going to do whatever it takes till we come to a solution and in agreement. Validation encompasses the principle to seek first to understand and then be understood. So care, kindness, validation, these are critical components to talking together.